body's need for speed. I can put our wings in the wind faster than you could ever believe. Are you ready to rock? Fun that don't ever stop. We are on a crash course of freedom that's running on as long as we want.
The License and Registration Show is brought to you by Wheelhouse Storage, luxury garage condos for all of your toys. Visit wheelhousestorage.com for more information. All right, now on to the show. You good over there? Ready on the set? Sweet. Welcome to the License and Registration Show. I am your host, Mike Rioux. We are actually not at Wheelhouse Storage today. We did a little remote podcast trip out to Crystal River to visit our friends at Red Cracker Outdoors. So we're hanging out here on the water, drinking some rum drinks. I like that. So let everybody kind of go around the table here and introduce themselves.
I think we missed the click. Okay,
there we go.
So I am Rob Matthews, and I guess I would be the leader of our super secret boy band.
I am Amanda Matthews, Rob's wife.
Second in command.
Definitely
the peacemaker of the whole group.
That's true.
I am Cory Verne. I would be the instigator of this.
That's also true.
Now we know who the go-to is for things to happen on the show. Well, thanks everybody for having us today. I know it's kind of an impromptu, what are you guys up to type deal, but
Yep.
I'm glad you guys were up to something.
The power of social media when you go, hey, you should come over here. And then I get a text or whatever message. I forget how, 2 days, what are you doing Sunday? I'm like, apparently waiting for you to arrive.
And we showed up.
Yep, perfect.
So we'll get kind of right into it. Rob, I'll let you kind of go a little over what is Red Cracker Outdoors.
So I get that quite a bit. We have a few stickers on our trucks and things of that nature. And the bottom line is I tell everybody the same thing. Red Cracker Outdoors is our super secret boy band. What it really is a group of really close friends over the course of, Justin, almost 20 years.
Wow.
that have gone on adventures and travels and enjoy each other's company. And that's through a lot of different things. It's through camping and hunting and fishing and frisbee golf and, just everything you could think of. And we enjoy each other's company and we're all over. So Red Cracker Outdoors is, I don't know if you can see our logo here. It's the state of Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina. So the Florida contingent is Cory and us.
Right.
And then the Georgia contingent is our good friend Justin, who is just east of Atlanta. And then the South Carolina contingent is our good friend Heath, who actually is a chef. He owns a restaurant on the water.
Oh, nice.
So Red Cracker is a combination of redneck and cracker.
Okay.
Both of which are technically not, a politically correct thing. So you just can't
because we're known for being politically correct here.
If you want to see something funny, go into a crowded Walmart and say, "Hey, you redneck," and everybody's going to turn around with like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you said that." And then if you want to go a step further and say, "Hey, you cracker," right? Because that's supposed to be a negative thing, which is total garbage because
a Southern thing.
We're both
it's
crackers.
A Florida thing.
It's a Florida thing, right? You're
Florida crackers.
You're a cracker, right? And that's old cattle farming and
you got it
in Florida. So anyway, so the combination is Red Cracker. The rednecks are north of us, the crackers are down here. And you know what the difference is between a redneck and a cracker?
I have no idea.
Crackers have manners.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do the rednecks know that?
I don't know.
But anyways, so yeah, that's what we are. It's just a bunch of really good friends,
Cool.
tight knit group, and we do stuff together and goof off. And I mean, 2 days ago we went diving out here in the Gulf and did Snoopy rod things and just goofy stuff. That's what we do.
Very cool. Very cool. So what other type of activities? You said you guys get into a lot of outdoor stuff.
Yep.
What do you guys kind of have a primary thing that you do, or?
To be honest, no. We so when we were like, hey, we should really document some of this, right? We should take photos of the things and places we go and things of that nature. Mm-hmm. If you go back and look at our Instagram, it's like there's no one thing that we do.
It's all over the map.
Yeah,
it's everywhere.
We do a lot of fishing right here at Crystal River. I mean, we're always on the boat.
Well,
right?
It makes it super easy.
Right. Yeah, it's convenient.
It's our life, basically.
But like I have a fondness for reptiles, right? Herpetology. I've been catching snakes since I was a little kid, so there's a lot of reptile stuff in there. There's shooting sports. We're both on the board of directors for the archery club, the whole state of Florida, traditional bow hunters of Florida. There's
Metal detecting. I do a little bit of treasure hunting.
right.
Oh,
So
cool.
treasure hunting or artifacts, like we hunt for arrowheads and things.
I
Like
do some fossiling down in the Peace River, and
we're all over the map. There's no one thing that we say, oh, well, this is what we do.
Right.
Which is where the outdoors comes from, right? RCO, outdoors, is a broad thing, right? While it's very nice to sit here and be in the air conditioning for this, we're usually not in the air conditioning. We're outside. We're doing things.
Doing something.
Right. We're living. Yep.
Right. Exactly.
We even at times get to come over to St. Augustine or get on to Ponce Inlet and go surfing.
Yep. We surf, right? That's where we met.
No,
you guys,
of course,
right?
yeah, that's where we met.
basically, it falls down to if it's an adventure and it's outside, we're probably interested in it.
Yep. Exactly.
Nice.
That's it.
So we've talked a little bit. Of course, I know what you guys are up to,
Yep.
and you guys are also really big into overlanding.
We do.
So for the folks out there who probably have heard the term, but maybe not really understand what overlanding is, what in a nutshell is overlanding?
Overlanding is a term that's misused a lot.
Quite a bit.
Overlanding varies from camping in this way. It's an extended duration of living out of your vehicle.
Yeah.
It's not a weekend camping trip.
It is extended vehicle-based travel.
Gotcha.
There you
Okay.
go. Yep, that's accurate. Yep.
All right. So, and I'm sure overlanding, something people do all across the country. Doesn't matter really where. There's no like one hot spot over another.
Nope.
Yep.
It's
One of the other common misconceptions is a lot of people think that overlanding is way out in the rugged country and you have
Middle
to
of
have a four-wheel
nowhere.
drive, and that's not actually
true.
the case. There's a lot of people that go out there in two-wheel drive vans that are converted into rigs where they can sleep in and stuff like that. It's not necessarily off-road based. It's just
or not converted.
Yes, it's really
Yeah.
just vehicle-borne travel for extended period of times. We happen to really get into the off-road and more austere parts of the world that we enjoy traveling to.
Okay.
That's just our personal preference.
Right.
Cool. All right. So you guys have been doing some recently. You took a mini trip, kind of like a test run recently.
Yeah, we did. So 2 years ago, we took our Bronco Patches, which is a 1974 old early Bronco, like very small vehicle.
Okay.
And we did 11 days. And we're North
Carolina.
Nantahala.
Yeah, not all. That's right. Yep. Which was great. You know, it was all dirt road, very little pavement, and you know,
trails.
camping. You know, camping in patches. We have a rooftop tent on the top, and that's what we did. 11 days. That's overlanding.
And we went to Asheville.
Yep.
And we went to the Overland Expo there.
Yep.
Expo East.
Oh, okay.
That was pretty cool.
So the entire convention behind it.
Well, yeah.
Well, that just happened to be.
Yeah, they just
At the
happened to be
spot,
there
too.
when we were there.
Oh.
So we did. We checked it out. I was a little underwhelmed,
Okay.
but this is the background of doing this our whole lives, and so it was very pitched to
New people.
green people.
Yes.
right. People
Okay.
that don't camp and
Right.
don't do
that
any
this
of
is an
that.
entirely new concept to them.
Correct. So for us, it was kind of like,
I know this, I have this, I know that.
right.
The benefit for us really going to Expo East was to see all the vendors' products and be able to put our hands on them before
Right.
purchasing.
Right.
And they have a very big vendor show there. They also have some recognizable faces in the overlanding industry, like EXO was there, and what's the other
Mountain
one?
State
Mountain
Overland
State
was
Overland
there.
was there.
was there.
Yeah,
Yep.
and there's a few recognizable faces that you can go and actually interact with them on a one-to-one, you know, in person. We're usually watching them all on YouTube. Or Insta,
Right.
or whatever other social media you prefer.
And that part was pretty neat.
Yeah.
Be able
Yes.
to see the guys. You know, we watch Mountain State came to mind.
Yeah.
And those guys were just like us.
Yep.
Plain Jane, no big deal. Cool to talk to, and they love talking to you, right?
Right.
I mean, it's just like us. I mean, sees us, and we'll sit there and BS with them for as long as they want to talk about anything we're interested in. You know?
Right. Definitely.
And that's also one of the really neat things about overlanding is most of the people are very personable, they're very down to earth, and you can just walk right up and strike up a conversation about your rig or your equipment or where you've been or where you're going or
So,
what you like to do.
so community is a big part of overlanding.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they wanted to know too where we have been and where we were going. So that was pretty neat
It
too.
was funny when we went. So last year we did an East Coast Canada trip, which
Okay.
was 127 hours of driving, and I don't know, 7,000 miles or something. I don't even remember.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
When we were in Nova Scotia, Mountain State Overland was somewhere in eastern Canada. I mean, we were within 400 or 500 miles of each other, and they were filming an episode for their YouTube channel. So yeah, I mean, it was kind of neat.
Yeah.
So 400 to 500 miles is probably close in overlanding.
That's
we're around the corner.
Yeah, exactly. That's nothing. They were within 500 miles of us. I mean, that's like right around the corner.
Right.
Well, when you get into Canada, yes, 400 or 500 miles is actually relatively close.
Definitely. Yeah, no, there's plenty of space up in Maple Land.
Yeah.
Yep.
That trip that we took though to Canada was awesome.
Really?
It was really neat.
Did you guys have a couple highlights from the trip that were like, yes, like this is what it's about?
It was
You mean
fun.
when the border patrol or the customs when we go across took our guns?
Yeah.
That might have happened.
I didn't hear that story.
Now, to be
Silly
fair,
Americans.
we spent several weeks researching what was legal to carry on us in our vehicles, and they're very specific.
And to take across.
And we had printed out all the forms, filled out the forms, we
Right.
literally rolled in and handed them the forms, and they took them, threw them in the garbage, and go, hey, you can't have that. Go pull over there.
Yeah.
Had something changed between that time and this time, or
No.
it was just
They were nice about it and professional after they stripped our trucks.
As every good
Yeah.
Canadian is.
Yeah, that's right.
They're
yes.
super pleasant
They're
people,
very nice people.
even when
Yeah.
they're being official.
Yeah.
So they said if we were actually going to hunt and we had a guide and everything, we could have taken the one rifle that we had. But otherwise, they were like, no, you can't have this stuff. So they confiscated it and kept it until we came back across
so
the
you were
border.
at least allowed to come back and get
yeah.
it.
Yeah, the only thing was we had to come back to that border crossing, which we weren't
then-
planning on doing, but we came back
And
anyways.
then they didn't give it to us. They drove across to the New York State line.
So
Yeah.
on
and turned them over to
U.S. soil.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we had to go get them from them. And that was all fine too, except for when Justin was mistaken for some convict criminal that was on the loose. And
Yeah, there was some other guy named Justin Smith that
Right.
had like a bad rap and
facial hair, big dude, like perfect match.
So with international overlanding,
Yes.
so you need to know
Yeah.
what you can and
Yes.
cannot have and what you can and cannot do when crossing either border. Like, I mean, Mexico, I'm sure there's
Oh, yeah.
probably just as many like
Yeah, Mexico,
Yeah.
you just buy a firearm down there. It's fine.
hey, you just walk across, it's fine.
Yeah, there's definitely a certain amount of research and diligence that you need to do before crossing international borders. I mean, let's be honest, in the U.S., it's super easy and we're allowed to travel from state to state without any real checkpoints or anything like
Right.
that. But as soon as you start hitting international borders, you need to have all of your paperwork and stuff in line. That way you're not sitting there for hours and hours.
And
and
even
hours.
when you have some of your paperwork and stuff in line, it still doesn't matter.
Realize that it does not
Well, I mean,
matter.
even too in the U.S., if you do have guns and stuff, you do have to check what states,
Not everybody
have
has
Reciprocity, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, but anyways, I mean, our trip was fun. We did water crossings and put our vehicles on a ferry and went across. I think two or three. We did three
At least
crossings. That was really cool, and one was even overnight. We went to Quebec, Labrador.
PEI.
Yeah, we went to Newfoundland, Nova Scotia.
Oh, so you guys really did. in
Yeah,
East
we did
Coast.
like a whole loop.
So
We went
here's-
up, and we went to the farthest point that you could go north
Northeast.
with a car.
Yeah, we went to the two farthest points. One on the North American continent,
Okay.
and then we went to the furthest point on Newfoundland, which is not actually considered the continent of North America. It's an island, but
Right.
we went to the farthest east as we could drive to. And the reason we did this trip is because in 2022, you know this, we're driving to Alaska from Key West. So the goal was to hit every Canadian province. So we did. We hit all the eastern ones, right? From
Yep.
Ontario east, we hit all of them.
Right.
And then, when we do the big trip to Alaska, we'll hit all the other ones.
So now, are you guys going back up to Canada, then crossing through Canada,
We are going to go.
or what's kind of like the general like? How long is this trip being planned for?
It's gonna be 6 weeks.
6 weeks.
I think.
6 weeks.
About 6 weeks.
Yeah.
We're still kind of in the planning stage of it, so the timeline is still a little flexible, but we're throwing aside about 6 weeks for it. And currently, the goal is to start from the furthest southeast point, which would be Key West,
Key
mile
West.
marker 1, which is where I'll kick off the journey, and then we're going to go to the farthest northwest point and the Arctic Circle.
Nice.
So we've mapped up to now. We have our rough route up to Tuktoyaktuk, which is in the
I
Arctic
always like
Ocean.
that word.
Right.
Toyota.
And that's what highway? That's the Aleutian. What is the highway that runs up and basically ends?
Dalton Highway.
I don't know. You're asking technical questions now. I mean, I have all this stuff written down here, but
Right.
this is like really rough. And keep in mind, we're 2022, so we're 2 years
2
away,
years
and we're
out.
already working on this.
Yeah, I've
Right.
always heard them talk about the Dalton Highway.
Yes.
But
Dalton
a
Highway is
trip
one the
of
main
this length requires that
yeah.
much planning.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
absolutely.
Like this isn't someone that like, oh cool, I have an SUV, I'm gonna throw a tent on the roof and let's go.
Good
Yeah.
luck.
It would be an adventure if you did.
Please take video,
Yeah.
post your content.
Yeah.
I mean, even planning down to what you take for clothes, what you take for food, where you stop for, food.
Supplies and-
Yeah, supplies
Yeah.
and everything, gas.
And there's a lot of things that go into this planning that you don't normally think of on the day to day. Like, oh, how often are we going to do laundry? Where are we going to do that? How often are we going to take showers? And where are we going to do that? Where are the grocery stores? You know?
Right.
Where are we getting fuel is another big one. Like our convoy is going to have 5 different vehicles in it.
up
And-
to 5, more than likely 3.
Yeah, and they all get different fuel mileage, so we have to kind of figure out who's got the smallest tank, or where are we gonna, how are we gonna,
Or who
stretch
has
it
the
out.
worst mileage.
Yeah.
And then, of course,
yeah.
we carry fuel tanks too.
yes,
Oh well, definitely. Yeah.
And this is not a problem in the
The
States,
US,
right?
yeah.
But when you go Western Canada,
Yes.
like there's nothing there.
So
Like there's nothing there.
So a Canadian friend of mine put it into perspective one day. He asked me, he's like, "What's the population of Florida?" Which is where we live, and I says, "I don't know, like 30 million." He's like, 32 million. Population of Florida is 32 million. He told me that is the population of the whole country of Canada.
Yeah.
The whole
exactly.
country, the whole thing. And it's probably the same size, maybe a smidgen bigger than the actual continental U.S.
Yep.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Canada's
Big
massive.
stuff.
Massive.
Yep.
So very, very.
Yeah, I have half of my family. My dad is from Quebec.
Okay.
And we have a ton of family up there that live in like rural areas about 2-3 hours outside of Quebec. One of them has a 40,000 acre farm.
Whoa. That's crazy.
And that's normal for commercial agricultural usage up in that area. Like those size farms are normal.
yeah.
What does he farm?
Oh, I don't even remember. It's a ton of different stuff.
Is it bacon? Does he farm bacon?
There are definitely hogs out there. And so they have cabins out on the property. And it's one of those that just tell the wives that like we're going hunting, and he goes, all we do is we'll go find one of the cabins out on the property and just drink.
That's awesome.
Very nice.
So yeah.
That sounds like my kind of adventure.
Do they rent these out?
Oh, we just show up.
Oh, nice. I might have to do that.
So we're planning on this Alaska trip. So it's routed out right now. 12 days in puts us at Tuktoyaktuk from Key West. Or no, that's not even from Key West. That's from Eatonton.
So
Yes,
where?
that's from Georgia.
So for probably a lot of folks, they have a clue where Alaska is.
Yep.
Where is that within Alaska?
Tuktoyaktuk is not in Alaska. It's
Oh, okay.
It's in Canada, and I believe it's in the Northwest Territories.
Is it Northwest or Yukon? I can't remember.
I don't know. One of those.
Yeah.
Are you guys ending in? Are you guys?
No. So we actually we're going to go to Tuktoyaktuk because there's a little peninsula that kind of loops around. We can basically park the trucks on the ocean.
Right.
Yes.
And we can get out and do the polar bear plunge. I'm still not sure if I'm going to do that. But
Yes, you are.
It's an option.
If we're going to the Arctic Circle, you're doing it.
Everybody
I'm just
has to
telling
do
you.
it.
I'm going to remember that.
I will wrestle you in there if I have to.
I'll just put my little toe in there. How about that?
And then we have to backtrack from Tuktoyaktuk to go. It's like 2 days south.
Right.
And then we'll go west to actually go into Alaska and bounce around. And I've got a Bronco friend of mine that's up there in Alaska, and we're going to go do some wheeling with him and hit the Alaska stuff and then come back.
What time of year is that in there?
We're probably looking at late summer.
Late summer.
I'm thinking September-ish.
Okay.
And that's to try to get away from the mosquitoes and black flies.
Oh, I've
But-
heard the mosquitoes there are.
Oh, yeah. Have you ever been to Alaska?
No,
Oh, yeah.
but
It's
I hear.
It's 10 gauge needles. When they land on your arm and bite you, it's like somebody went, kabam, and you're like, yeah, and it flatten them. It's horrible. Yeah.
When you watch some of the overlanding guys, they have these big
Bug
nets
suits.
around them and stuff. And I'm like, I don't want to go out there at that time.
That doesn't look fun at all.
No.
But there is a very small window between late summer and early fall, which would be winter for us.
Right.
That everything freezes over and a lot of things become impassable.
So, and that's the single biggest hurdle is what Cory just said, because a lot of these small rivers, we have to ferry across the river to get to the other side. Well, if you ferry one way, guess what? You got to come back across.
Yes.
And when they shut down for the winter,
It's done.
That's it.
done. You're not coming
screwed.
back.
Wow.
And that is the single, from logistics, because of the duration, right? We're not just crossing a river and hanging out there. We're crossing a river and then going another 4,000 miles.
Right.
And if it shuts down, you don't come back. You leave your trucks there and you find a plane and fly back.
Just fly back.
And your trucks stay there for 6 months. Yeah, that's the single biggest hurdle.
Fun.
Yep. Well, it is totally fun. It's just plan accordingly.
Right.
It's planning.
Now, so of course, planning for weather, you guys are going to be running from Key West to Northwest North America, essentially. I mean, that's
Bathing suits to jackets.
That's like bathing suits to jackets.
Yep.
I mean, it's hard enough to already plan supplies for we're just going here. But you guys are, it's an entire trip that's going to span
But
climate
at least
to climate.
bathing suits, they go in a ball,
So-
they don't take up that much space.
So
and we'll need towels anyways for showering. So,
We say
Right.
trunks to turtlenecks.
Yeah. Trunks to turtle.
dude, do they even make turtlenecks anymore?
We can probably find some.
If not, we maybe get some RCO turtlenecks.
Yeah. So,
Buffs. That's what it is. Buffs.
for us anyways, when we go to Key West, right, if we can do this because we live in Florida. So, hey, we're going to leave our house, drive to Key West, and then come back to our house.
Right.
So we can do the T-shirts and shorts because we're here in Florida.
Yep.
And then when we stop at our house or Cory's house, we're going to do a clothing change, right? We'll probably just have an overnight bag to go to Key West, right?
Right.
And do some video and hit some snorkel spots or whatever and come back north. And we're basically going to swap. And when we swap at our house, it'll be long pants, jeans and
Travel attire.
The proper attire, right?
Right.
Yes.
So on average, I know it'll change, of course, once you get into different terrain, different areas, but on average, about how many miles a day are you traveling?
Oh, I actually have that. I have that data right here.
I figured you would.
And now, so this trip is substantially different from the East Coast Canada trip or any trip that you do in the continental U.S. So our numbers and things are very, very flexible. But for what we have right now, and I'm just going to go through the miles, and this is per day.
Okay.
And these are going to sound like a lot of miles and a lot of hours, and that's accurate. And we have a reason for this. So 550 miles, 550 miles, 525 miles, that's 3 days. 525, 500, 200 miles. That's a short day.
Yes.
Why is that a short day? Let's see here, because that would be...
Let me guess, because it's a brewery stop.
No, but that's a good guess.
That would be a good idea.
No matter where we go, we always had to find breweries.
We do that. That's the 5th day in of full-on driving days all day and not doing anything. And by
Right.
day 5, you're ready
It's time for a
break.
break.
So day 5, we're actually at Banff National Park, which is in Canada. There's lakes there.
Oh, I can't wait to see that.
Yes.
I've
Yeah,
seen the pictures of it, and it's beautiful.
And here's the thing. We might get there and go, this place is amazing. And we
Yeah.
very well could stay there for 2 days, not just stay there and hang out, but
Right.
stay there in a whole nother 24 hours and just chill. Let's see. The next, then we go to 475 miles, 726 kilometers, 517, 593, 596, 515. But then we're in Tuktoyaktuk. We're basically killing ourselves to get as far west as fast as we
possible.
can. Now, from Tuktoyaktuk, the trip slows down because we're not in the U.S. There's more stuff to see.
Right.
There's more stuff to do. We might drive along and go, look at XYZ over there on the right side of the road, and we pull over and goof off for half a day.
Right.
So you have to plan in the downtime. Our East Coast trip, how much downtime did we have?
There was like none. It was just
Zero.
go, 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 go.
It was
go.
wide open, nonstop, the whole trip. Now we did, by miles in hitting all the provinces, we did good. This trip cannot be like that. It has to be more of a vacation to some extent.
The beginning of the trip is really just getting off of the eastern seaboard.
Yeah.
And then when we get out there, we have all of our spare time to find things that we want to hang out and adventures we want to do and just really spend our time in the quality stuff that we want to see that's far away from what we're used to.
Right.
That's it.
To spend as much time far away as possible.
Correct.
Yep.
That's it.
Cool.
So we haven't planned past Tuktoyaktuk. This whole thing will adjust and change the closer we get because so we do have campsites that are picked out for this.
Tentatively marked out.
Yeah, start.
Now, are
the
these
day, end of
in
the day.
parks or
Some of them, yes.
A little bit of everything.
a little bit of everything?
See, one of the beautiful things about our rigs is we can go to a state or national forest and we can do primitive camping, or we can pull into a campground and camp,
Right.
or we can literally pull into a Walmart parking lot if we
You
absolutely
open
have
up
to.
the tents and you sleep.
Yep.
You everywhere you're with your vehicle, that's where you're sleeping. Yep.
Yeah.
The rooftop
Very,
tents.
very, very versatile.
So it's, just here's the first. The first 12 days, Lake Michigan campground. Woohoo! I'm sure it's an epic facility, but that's just part of the trip.
Right.
But then too, a lot of places, like in the States, you can't camp in. You have to be in like a campground
the
or a state
designated
park.
camping
But
facility.
like when we
yeah,
went
yeah.
to Canada, you could just pull over on the side of the road, and they actually had like little spots where you could just go and camp.
It's not.
But
like
here in
it.
the States, it's not like that.
Oh, yeah.
So Chippewa National Forest in Minnesota, we don't have a campground, and
Just
that
find a
might be a
spot.
primitive spot. We just drive down a dirt road somewhere and go, here's a spot. Moose Mountain Provincial Park, Dinosaur Provincial Park, Banff National Park, Gwillem Lake Provincial Park, and then this one right here is off of BC 97 and McDonald Creek. That's a primitive campsite, and we've actually looked at it on Google Earth, and we've got GPS coordinates, so we know exactly where it's at.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
And then let's see. Then there's Francis Lake Government Campground. That is actually one that we have to reserve, which costs like $3 or something dumb.
Oh, jeez.
But the next one, literally, it's a gravel pit north of Stewart Crossing. It's a primitive camp in a gravel quarry, again, right off the side of the road. And then Eagle Plains, Yukon Territory. There's actually a hotel there. That would be 10 days in, I believe. And we will stay at Eagle Plains Hotel. Like, we have the trucks. We're either going to park in their parking lot and stay in the trucks, or we'll actually get a hotel room because showers, laundry, like
Right,
Cory mentioned earlier.
right.
Like,
Yep.
this has to be part of the plan. Maybe we only get one hotel room, and
Right.
we'll all use the shower back and forth, but we can crash in the trucks in the parking lot, right? And then the next day, literally, it says Arctic Ocean. And assuming the wind's not blowing 40 miles an hour, we'll probably camp right there on the ocean.
That would be really cool.
Yes.
Really
That'd
cool.
be sweet.
So
The only thing that would make it even cooler is if we got to see the Northern Lights while we were there.
almost guarantee
I
that'll happen.
totally want to see
we're
that.
really,
Yes.
really shooting for some of those kind of things. Those.
Kind of like some bucket list items.
Yeah.
for sure.
Very cool.
I think we're going to cross the Arctic Circle twice. Once on the way to Tuktoyaktuk, and then we'll do it again in Alaska.
Yes.
So,
Sounds like quite a trip.
yep.
Yeah, that's what we're shooting for. Well, we're pretty top shelf people, pretty exotic people. At least I like to think so.
That might be a bit of a
Yourself on
stretch.
the back.
I don't know. These days, talking about we're exotic people, if you haven't started watching that Tiger King thing,
No, I
that
Oh,
is
I've
some
seen people starting
crazy
to watch
exotic
that.
stuff. We got sucked in yesterday.
Oh.
And it was like just a train wreck after. Like you think it could not get weirder. No, the bar just kept getting pushed north. It was tragically amazing. So we've talked about your trip. We talked a little bit, and we keep mentioning the rigs. So let's talk about expedition vehicles, overlanding vehicles. For someone who wants to do these types of trips, not necessarily like, oh, I'm just kind of, going down the road somewhere and we're going to go tent camp for a little bit. What are some of the things that make a good overlanding adventure rig?
If you're really overlanding, fuel capacity. That's probably the first thing I look at.
that and range.
Yeah.
So basically, how far you can get on that tank. That's definitely a big consideration because sometimes your stops are very long distances apart. That's why you see a lot of overlanding rigs carrying some extra fuel in fuel cans or extra capacity fuel tanks or stuff like that.
It's far less about what make or model vehicle you have, or I don't. That's all personal preference.
Right.
If you can use a pickup truck or you can use a 1987 Corolla, right? I mean,
If it does the job.
right? Yeah.
One of the biggest things is reliability. Hands down, reliability. A lot of misconceptions between off-roading and overlanding is overlanding vehicles. We actually try to keep them as stock as possible.
Yeah, it's not big lifts and big tires and that stuff. That's not how that works out. Big lifts and big tires is big stress on components.
Becomes unreliable.
Yeah, it's more wear and tear on the drivetrain, everything.
And even the off-roading side of things, if you're actual overlanding is very mild.
Yeah.
Right. You're not rock crawling.
No. You still have to drive this thing 5,000 miles
Yeah.
home. We can't afford to.
The braking things is not an option.
Right.
Yeah.
You gotta
as I
be
say, you
able to
still
go
need the
there and back.
miles.
Yeah. So what are some of the more popular choices right now?
Toyota, take your pick.
Yeah, Toyota's a
4Runner.
very popular one. They have one of the leading names in the market for overlanding rigs.
Right.
Most SUVs and smaller mid-sized pickup trucks are very super popular. But I will say lately there's been a trend in the U.S. for half-ton pickups as well,
Okay. So
especially the four-door cabs.
is that as fuel economy has gotten better on them?
Yeah, I mean, we get 18 miles to gallon on her 2012.
Yes. I think that's part of it,
great.
and the size. As Americans, we love our larger vehicles, and that's just Jim Brown. He has a pickup truck that he uses from 9 to 5 during the week, going to the construction site, and now he wants to go take a 3-week travel to Canada. Well, that's what he has: is his half-ton Dodge or his half-ton Ford.
Right.
And that's what we did. We took my 1500 Ram and just put a rooftop tent in the back, and we took that and it did great.
So
18 miles to a gallon.
Is that what you guys are currently using, or what are you guys going to use for the trip? What's the plan?
So the new trip, we'll wait and see what Ford does with the new Bronco, right?
Oh yeah, we'll have to get back to that.
And if the Bronco will do the job, then we're kind of overdue to get a new vehicle now. How many miles do you got on your Ram?
267,000 miles.
That's reliable.
You've gotten some money's worth out of that
Yes.
truck.
Yes.
So it's a toss up, at least for me, between the new Bronco, if it's what it should be or what I think it should be,
Right.
or we'll get another Ram. Yep.
Nice. What other type of rigs do you guys have in the group?
I currently just bought a 2019 four-door Ranger.
Oh, the new Rangers. Those are nice.
Yes. I don't personally need a full-size vehicle for the room. I don't tow anything, and a mid-size works very well. So that's the rig I went with. It's got a bit more payload than my old Jeep. I used to have a Jeep Cherokee.
Okay. Yep.
Which I really loved, and we actually took that to Expo East. I drove it from here all the way up and around Nantahala and all that. Great vehicle, horrible fuel mileage, but it it did the trick. Very reliable with the old straight 6 in it.
Yeah,
But for getting ready for Alaska, I needed something a bit more economic as far as the fuel mileage,
Right.
and more payload capacity, because the Jeep just doesn't have the payload capacity.
No, not at all. So with the trucks you guys tend to have with the rooftop tent setups, is that tend to be a rack over the bed, or is that kind of an over rack over the cab?
The answer to that
Or
is
trailer.
The answer to that is yes.
Or a trailer.
Yes,
Or the trailer.
there's many variations as to how to set them up. Right now, me personally, I'm probably leaning towards a ruggedized camper top, and either putting the tent on top of that or towing a small trailer with the rooftop tent on it. I'm kind of on the fence as to what I'm going to do there. I recently was in Virginia for Overland History's Overland into the New Year trip, and there was a guy with a half-ton Dodge who had a bed rack and his rooftop tent on top of that, which worked very well. There's a lot of options out there. You really have to tailor it to what your needs are. What kind of traveling, what kind of things you in particular need. Do you have kids? Are you not taking
Is this a vehicle
kids?
you use every day?
Is it your daily driver, or is it a specialty rig that you just have on the side? You really have to kind of base a lot of those decisions on your own personal needs.
Gotcha. So that's what you guys have. What else is in the group?
We've got two
Lexus.
We've got two Broncos between the both of us. We've got the 75
Classic
with the patches,
Broncos.
right?
Yes.
And then she's got a 67 that's in pieces, but it's fine.
One day it'll get done.
And then Justin has a Lexus GX 460.
Yes.
Yes, I think that's what it is. Yes,
and
it is a Lexus for sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's got leather and air conditioned seats. That's his overland
It
vehicle.
it holds a latte very well.
Good on him. Good on him.
Hey, my Dodge has the AC and heated seats too, and steering wheel. So
Yeah.
we're right up there too.
His Lexus, and then Heath just bought he bought an F-150.
Yes.
And this is a good example because he lives very close to his work. So I mean he's at work in 5 minutes.
Okay.
And because he's an integral part of what he doesn't travel a lot. So before the trip, he will probably put a leveling kit on that truck for a little more ground clearance, and he'll probably get a roof rack, and then a tent will go on the back of the pickup.
Gotcha.
And he's actually our chef.
Yeah, he is the
He's
chef.
a
on the
real
trips.
deal chef.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
So
Like he has his own restaurant chef.
bringing a chef into the boy band, was that
very smart
was this an intentional move?
There was definitely some strategic planning in this.
So no, I guess no, we joke about it, but is that also so? If you have a group of folks that want to do consistent overlanding trips or plan larger trips like that, is it important to have people with at least some level of skills?
Yeah.
So
for
everybody
sure.
has a job. Everybody has one thing that they bring. Now we
To the
can
team,
we
yes.
can multitask, right? So Cory is a very good chef too, given his profession. He's cooking for. Well, you can talk about that.
Yeah. So by profession, I'm a firefighter paramedic.
Oh, okay. So you guys are all about food.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm used to cooking for larger groups. Right now on the daily, I cook for about 4 or 5 guys when I'm on shift. And before I got a promotion, I was cooking for 7 to 8 because that was just happened to be the station I was at.
Gotcha. Okay.
So
With regards to that, people in the group and they have different responsibilities. He is the safety guy within RCO.
safety
He's
medical guy.
He's a paramedic.
No, but that's
If something
You're right.
goes bad, then he can deal with it. Right?
He's our paramedic.
right.
Yes.
Versus just like, well, there goes the leg. Got to put him down.
Yeah.
Cut it off.
Put a tourniquet on it. Does it still hurt when I touch here? Okay, don't do that then.
Just don't do that anymore.
I guess I'm the cleanup crew.
No, you do a little bit of logistics
I'm
too.
like,
There's a little bit of logistics.
Well, that is true.
I
don't
am a
think that's your
navigator.
only
I
job.
guess I am a
She's
navigator.
Very good
Yes.
at navigating.
Yes.
Pretty good navigator.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm in charge of rum.
Which you do an excellent job of, by
did.
the way.
We had the truck with the coolers and we had the rum and the drinks and all that.
We
good
set
stuff.
up. We set up camp, and everybody does their things with regards to the truck, right? So we have a tent together, and then Justin and Heath had their tent together, and then Cory has his tent. So everybody does their own kind of personal setup, right? When
Right.
you get to where you're, everybody sets up.
Set your own rig up.
and it takes 5 minutes. So while they were doing that, I was on rum duty. So and I know where the glasses are because Justin, he's the cooking facility, right? He
Okay. So he
carries the food,
basically
the
sets up the
fridge
kitchen.
Yep, him and Heath get to setting up the kitchen and cooking.
I go to them and I grab everybody's containers and then I do all the ice and I make all the drinks. And about the time everybody's set up, I can hand everybody a glass.
Yes.
And that's how we start camp.
That's pretty damn important.
Yeah, well, I think it's the
Absolutely.
most important job out there.
Has he started wearing stripes or anything yet?
No, we haven't quite made it that
That's a good idea. Write that down.
Yeah.
I'm waiting to see on the content later. There's now a whole rank and order system.
That'd be pretty
And from
funny.
episode to episode, I'm like, he screwed up.
He got a rip in his sleeve.
Yeah, there's
He's
a
gone.
rip. Stripes gone.
He messed up.
Yeah.
So you mentioned it a minute ago, the new Bronco.
Yep.
I know you are a Bronco guy.
Yep.
You love Broncos.
While this is all true, I have no brand loyalty.
No,
So
but you enjoy the
yes.
Bronco. I didn't say you like
Love
Ford.
Broncos.
Right. Yes. I just happen to have.
Now, mind you, you have a Ford Ranger and Ford
He
Broncos.
bought his first.
Yes, I did.
But we do have a Dodge truck, so
Yeah.
That's true.
But Rob's Ranger is a work vehicle.
That's true.
Yes, yeah, you replaced your work vehicle.
I sold the other one and then I bought a newer one because it was just time to roll
so.
roll them over. Yeah.
Right.
but
So.
we do love Fords.
No. I disagree with that.
I love Fords.
No. I enjoy my Broncos, my early Broncos, and I would love to see Ford do the re-release, the new Bronco, Justice.
So you're definitely looking forward to seeing the official release and see what it's all about.
I've seen what it looks like.
Well, yeah.
But
if anyone's not in tune to that yet, then you should know that there have been leaked images of official production vehicles,
Yes.
both 4-door, 2-door, and the Mini, the Sport.
Yeah, and I've got so being part of the Bronco community, as it were. I have some inside intel to some extent, and I've been asked to help out with other aspects from a social media side, which is great. I'd love to do that because and here the fallback to that is nobody actually overlands in the Bronco world, right? Nobody actually does this regularly.
Because there's no modern Bronco right now that fits the criteria of reliability, fuel
Now,
mileage.
the one guy, I think their last name is Perry. Is it Paul Perry?
Paul.
Yeah. When we went to Overland East, him and his wife were actually there, and they had their early Bronco, and they had a trailer with, I think, their rooftop tent on it. So, I mean, there's a few people that do, but yeah, generally.
But no one's going on a Key West to Northwestern North American trip.
How long has it been since they had a production Bronco?
96 was
Yeah,
last.
I'd say mid-90s.
Wow. That's a long
The OJ
time.
Bronco.
Yeah. I remember watching that. God, I'm so old.
So we'll see. I mean, it's there's a lot of Bronco guys that are like, well, if it doesn't have a 5.0, I don't want it. If it doesn't have a V8, I don't want it. Well, you're a dumbass. Can I say that? Oh, I just
No, you can't.
that's very narrow.
I can put some dolphin making a noise over that.
Do that.
It's a very narrow-minded, very ignorant thinking, right? Sure, if you want to go back to getting, 14 miles to a gallon and having an underpowered vehicle, to some extent, like a modern 5.0 Coyote engine is a little different. But
yeah.
I'll take the twin turbo little EcoBoost that puts out 300 and something horsepower, which is more than any Bronco ever needs, right? And torque numbers that are through the freaking roof, and still get 24 miles to a gallon.
Yes,
right.
Exactly.
Well, so I actually just had another friend on the show a couple episodes ago, and for the longest time, he wanted to stay away from the EcoBoost motors. And he ended up picking up a 3.5 EcoBoost F-150.
Amazing piece of design.
He loves that truck.
Yeah.
And I think he said he's put about 40,000 miles on it.
Wow.
30,000 of that 40 has been towing something.
Nice.
Wow. That's pretty good.
And he has been, we laughed, he took this long trip, basically bought 2 cars and sold a car and drove about 3,500 miles doing so on this trip. And he's like, it was great.
Yep.
And he goes, all the room, all the power I needed, still got good fuel economy considering he was towing a car. I mean, the Ford GT, their supercars got an EcoBoost variant in it.
Yep.
It's a great motor.
That's actually one of the things that steered me towards getting a new Ranger. The Ranger is new in the U.S. The platform has been around for about 10 years overseas, Australia, Asia, so on and so forth. And the EcoBoost has been out for about 5 or 6 years here in the States.
Yes.
And the Ranger has the same EcoBoost as the little Mustangs do, the little 4-cylinder Mustangs. They just retuned it for being in a pickup
It's
truck.
2.7?
I believe so. Yes.
Something
If I
like
remember
that.
correctly,
Yeah.
No idea.
I'm at 285 horse from the factory, 310 foot-pounds of torque right out of the box. I mean, you
amazing.
can't beat it. You can't beat it with a stick.
That's better than any early Bronco ever came from the factory.
Right.
Like,
And what do you get mileage wise?
So before I did my tire change with the factory tires, I was doing about 24 miles to the gallon on the highway, and that is doing 75 to 80 miles an hour everywhere. And around town, I was getting 20, 21.
Yeah.
So definitely, it's a great little pickup truck for sure. And that's a 4-wheel drive off-road package. The FX4, mine just happens to be a Lariat because I got a good deal on it.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure Rob's numbers on his work truck are very similar.
Yeah, they are.
Is yours the EcoBoost as well?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
They
that's the
only
only-
come with one motor.
Oh,
one
so it's
transmission.
it's a single option.
Yep. And it's got the same 10-speed transmissions as an F-150. So it's rugged, it's reliable.
a 1/4-ton truck with a 1/2-ton
With a
transmission.
1/2-ton
You're never
transmission.
gonna hurt it. Ever.
No.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So are there some things with the new Bronco that you are looking things that you have kind of quasi confirmed that the public knows of that you are happy with, and then anything that you're unhappy with, but I'm sure the aftermarket will probably fix?
I like the look of the 2 doors. I think those ones look
It looks
cool.
like a short little early Bronco.
Yeah,
It does,
It
yeah.
looks legit like a Bronco. The 2-door does for sure.
There's I could as a Bronco guy, I there are tons of things that I can I can shred that vehicle and tear it apart.
Oh yeah, but you have to think it's a modern
Yeah.
interpretation of a classic.
And that being said, there are tons of things that they should have done, as me being a Bronco guy, that they didn't do that they
Right.
should have. I think it was Motor Trend came out with what I think is the best rendering right over the last 2 years. And I'm like, if they make that, they'll sell a ton of them. It's got all the styling cues that are throwback. And then the ones that I've seen are missing some of those cues. And I'm like, ugh. The biggest one for me personally, my biggest hang up is that it's not a solid axle truck. That's it's
independent front suspension.
Yes, right. And so
Which
there's-
I've heard there's already aftermarket companies that are working on a solid front axle
I am
trend.
sure, and you know what will happen as soon as you decide to drop the coin to do that? Bye-bye warranty. So nobody in their right mind meaning me, is going to do that.
Right, but I mean, I know even in the Jeep world, there's plenty of folks that go out buy a brand new Jeep, and that warranty is gone in a week.
Yeah.
That's true.
As soon as it gets released, the first year at SEMA, you're going to see a solid axle truck with all kinds of
It will,
accessories.
in my opinion, definitely be this year's SEMA darling.
Yes,
Oh, I'm
absolutely.
sure.
Like just like the Gladiator was last year, and the JL was before it. It's going to be everywhere.
The one thing I find very interesting is that for a small vehicle, because it's Ranger based, it's got a 34.5-inch tire on it. It's a giant tire.
It's a giant
on
tire.
a small truck.
It's definitely geared towards the off-road enthusiast for sure.
The Ranger Raptor, which we don't have here yet,
Right.
But
Yes.
other world Ranger Raptors, they're stocked with a 33-inch tire, and we're talking about this Bronco has a 34.5. Like that's a big damn tire for brand. No manufacturer that I'm aware of. Well, Ford puts a 35 on their
on the full-size Raptors.
on the full size F-150 Raptor. That's got a 35-inch tire.
Yes.
Nobody else does that.
What's on
that I'm aware of.
the Rubicon JL the Gladiator?
33.
Is it 33?
Stock with a
Oh,
33.
stock 33. Okay.
Now you
Same
can
thing.
shove a 35 on it.
Yeah, you can
and
definitely.
it'll clear it.
Yeah, you can put it on
and that's
there.
the thing people don't understand. A lot of the dealerships will do that as soon as they get the Rubicon Gladiator in. They'll
Bam,
they'll strip the
35.
33s off it, put 33s on it, and then stick it out on the lot.
Oh, yeah,
that's
yeah.
not a factory option. That's a dealership option.
Right. But at least if it's done by the dealer, it still leaves the dealer with a warranty.
Yep.
Correct.
Right.
So, a big giant tire for the type of vehicle anyways. And, independent front end, they ride better. Well, that's not like nobody would contest that. Nobody
Right.
would say, oh, well, I don't want that because it rides bad. Well, then, no, they ride better. But nobody buys a Jeep because they ride
Almost anything rides better than a Jeep. I laugh I'm horrible about like going out and test driving cars all the time, and I've got friends that do like professional review, like they get press cars, and we're all like, oh, this car rides so great, and I'm like, I drive a lifted Jeep on 35s, like anything rides better than
Yeah.
a Jeep.
And this is one of the things I don't understand why Ford did this. Like, why would you not put a solid axle in? People that buy Jeeps, which is supposed to be the market they were going after, the
Right.
Jeep market, they don't buy them because they ride good.
Nope.
They also don't buy them because of their safety rating, right? So, like, why would Ford? But here's the thing: I don't work for Ford marketing,
Right.
so my whole thought process is that of a Bronco owner. And I thought that we were supposed to go after the Jeep market,
Right.
And you don't do that with
Like
an
a true,
independent.
a true Jeep contender.
Yeah.
You don't do that with an independent front end, in my opinion. Now, that doesn't mean that I won't buy one. I'm just thinking that was a shortcoming on Ford's behalf.
Right.
Now, maybe I'm a little biased, but I think Ford did great going after the Toyota market with the Ranger, the new Ranger.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's right at the Toyota Tacoma market, and I think it's a fantastic contender. When I went to go buy mine, I literally drove a comparable Toyota, and I drove a comparable Colorado and the Ranger all on the same day.
Right.
And I would highly advise anybody to do that when
That's
they're
the
looking at a vehicle.
If you're comparing,
Drive 'em all.
try it all back to back to back.
Yep, back to back to back.
Just
And,
don't go buy the first one that you
No. Drive them all and then make your decision. But that was an eye opener. It's actually the first time I've ever done that.
Right.
Like all in the same day, and it was a huge eye opener.
Yeah.
As far as trying to decide which truck I liked and which one actually was better at being a truck.
If you're going to
Gotcha.
spend $30,000+, I have no brand loyalty.
Nope.
No, I want the best of what I want.
Yep. I want my dollar to go as far as it can go.
Right. Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. So the independent front suspension, that's not necessarily a deal breaker for them for you.
I mean, look at what's the biggest thing in the overlanding off-road market right now? Not Jeep. Well, aside from Jeep, Toyota.
Yeah, the Ford
Tacomas.
They're
Runners.
all
Tacomas
independent
and
front
4Runners.
suspension.
Right.
Yep.
Right. So is that a deal breaker for me? No, not really.
No.
I personally, I find it disappointing because every Broncos all had solid axles, even the 96 to 91, right?
Right.
They had the twin I-beam, right, the scissor, but it was still quote unquote a
Independent.
Right.
Yeah, I mean it's like ish, right? If you look at the front end, you see a pumpkin hanging down there. That's a solid axle. You know what I mean?
So
Yeah.
a lot of the naysayers will say that an independent front end is not as strong as a solid axle, but I beg to
wouldn't go
differ.
there.
We watch Aussie four-wheel drive off-road plenty, and all they have is IFS rigs, and they beat the tar out of them. I mean,
four-wheel
they
drive
abuse
action.
them.
Yeah,
They-
full drive action. That's a good one to watch.
They
on YouTube.
overland, but they basically go off road. They
Yeah.
Right.
they wheel.
Of course, they're in
that crap.
Australia, so they have different,
A little different.
Different terrain.
Different terrain, yes.
Yeah.
And
different
most of them
vehicles,
are
some of them.
Toyotas over there.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, and over there it's what, the Hilux.
Yes.
Yep. A few. They got a couple of Nissans thrown in.
They got a couple of Rangers there.
They do. They've got a Ranger Raptor.
Yep.
That's one of the guys that wheels with them, and it does a great job.
A few Land Cruisers and
I was
stuff
just
like
say,
that.
yeah,
There's-
they got
Oh, yeah, the
But
Land
they
Cruiser.
and the
Isuzu,
D-Max.
the D-Max.
The D-Max, that's one of
yeah.
our favorites.
The Dirty 30.
Yeah. But they wheel the crap out of them, and they beat the snot out of them, and the IFS holds up just fine.
Yeah.
I mean,
they wouldn't because they know people are going to take the vehicle off road.
yes.
They know it.
Yep.
So I still don't feel they were going to throw a suspension in there that they felt that couldn't at least.
Well, we had speculated, at least Justin and I had speculated that from a Ford marketing standpoint, it would make sense to recycle some parts that already exist.
Yes.
So since we all knew that
From
the Bronco was going to
manufacturing.
be on a Ranger platform, we were thinking that they would use the Ranger Raptor suspension on the Bronco because it's got such a big tire. Now we have taken some of this because they're manufacturing. They're already making the stuff.
Right. So it's already there.
Right.
Right.
And so we were going, this is how they're going to pull that off. But they'll just put it on. It won't be an SVT vehicle. It'll just be a Bronco, the off-road Bronco, whatever that is. Except that with the spy shots, we have compared like A-arms, right? We've compared suspension components, and that's not what they did.
Right.
And based on the photos we've seen. Now, the photos we've seen are all pre-production spy shot
Right,
models. And
right.
things can change.
Nothing clear.
Right.
Nothing
But
high def.
It does not appear that they've done that.
right.
Yep.
Do you think there's maybe a door to open for that down the road with an SVT model?
Oh yeah, I mean they will bring the Ranger
Absolutely.
Raptor to the U.S. market. They will probably have a Bronco Raptor of some variety to the U.S. market.
Right.
Yeah, 100%.
And if I had to guess, I would assume and guess that they would go with the V6 EcoBoost in those.
Yes.
In those
Oh, yeah.
Well, the motor options, it'll have the base motor that we have in our Rangers, and then it'll have the small EcoBoost in it. Right now, I mean that's what they're offering.
Yeah. No, that's cool. So what did they do right?
I think the styling cues are great. Even with the 4-door one, it is stretched and it's longer, but I mean, they have raised, pinched front fenders. They have a very rectangular shaped grille. They have round headlights.
Very retro.
They don't have exposed door hinges, which to me is a miss. But that's a throwback from early Broncos, 66 to 77.
Yeah, they have to hit both the early and
Right.
the 80s, 90s.
They've the spare tires hanging off the back of the truck like a Jeep, right? I do think they have a swing away tire carrier, but this is new. The door, so they have a lift gate that lifts up, right?
Yep.
And that's throwback to 66 to 77. Right?
Okay.
The full size never had that. They had a window that rolled down inside the tailgate. And from memory, I think that their tailgate swings out. Like a normal old Broncos,
Yes.
the tailgates drop down. This swings open.
Correct.
Now,
Kind of like a Jeep tailgate.
I can tell you from overlanding, Coda's Lexus, his tailgate swings out. Best thing ever.
Really?
Ever.
Yeah, it
oh,
is
yeah.
good.
Absolutely.
Really,
and it swings
really
all
nice.
the way open too.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just again like a Wrangler where that rear like it goes almost all the way around.
Yes.
Yeah, that's really
So what's
great.
the advantage of that versus a drop down tailgate?
So-
I figure because for me, like I had always wished that my Jeep's tailgate went down.
Yes, like the old school wheelies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah, because you'd probably use it as like a table.
As a surface.
Yeah,
Right.
To do stuff. Yeah.
see, we have tables we use as tables.
Yes.
Right.
So what happens is when you have a lift gate that goes up, you get a little rain protection built
Right.
in.
Yes.
Right.
And then when this swings out, you can now walk all the way in, all the way into the vehicle versus having a 3-foot tailgate that's
That
in
you
the
have
way
to
and
lean
then you
over.
have to
Yeah.
lean
Yes.
over.
Okay.
You can reach things a lot better in your cargo area.
That
yes.
makes sense.
Yeah.
That
And
makes
that was
sense.
that was one thing I experienced with my Cherokee that I used to overland with. It was a full hatch that lifted up, and it made a great rain cover.
Rain
and I
cover,
could
yep.
reach all the way into the back seat and reach everything.
Right.
I didn't have to have expensive slides, or
Slide drawers,
or
yeah.
all that. I could reach it all, and it was fantastic. So
Now, does anybody? So you talked about that, and I have been. I'm really impressed with some of the builds I've seen where like they have like these hyper built out rear ends that like everything is just on slides, super accessible, all that. Like, is that the glamping version of camping and overlanding,
I don't know if I'd say that.
or is that smart?
It's just very
Smart.
very
It's
definitely
smart
smart.
thing.
Definitely.
Space savers.
That's it. The reason they do that is for space.
yeah, space is a
keeping it
premium.
Hyper organized.
organized.
Yes.
That's it. Organization. So you know when you get, if you're doing
Where
a trip like
everything
this and
is.
you're six weeks, that's 7 times 6 is how many days that you're sleeping out of your vehicle. And the organizational and to have things, You pull up, you know where everything is. Like
Paramount.
you open this drawer and it's this over here, and you grab it, you close the drawer. Like it just makes things a lot.
And when you're done
smoother.
with it, it goes right back into the same
Yes,
spot.
absolutely.
So space and organization are a premium focus when overlanding, especially
Yes.
overlanding long trips.
long
Yes.
distance for sure.
And so you had mentioned possibly even the possibility of bringing a trailer.
Yes.
So is that just kind of exponentially better in regards to now your capacity in regards to cargo?
So bringing a trailer brings a couple of benefits, and it brings a couple of negatives as well. Some of the benefits, you get more cargo space, you get more capacity for weight.
Right.
Weight is a huge thing on an overland rig, and that's one of the reasons I went with a truck. A lot of SUVs that turn into overland rigs tend to be overloaded for what your gross vehicle weight rating is.
Okay.
Whereas a
Yeah,
pickup
that's a big
truck,
one.
yeah,
And people don't think about that at
no,
all.
they don't. A pickup truck allows you more cargo capacity,
Right.
And but adding a trailer, you can take a lot of that weight and put it directly on the trailer, and you're not overloading your vehicle and your drivetrain anymore. That's one of the biggest benefits. One of the other side benefits to me is if we decide to stay somewhere, like Banff. If we decide to go and stay there for a couple of days, I can set up camp, unhook the trailer, and now I have a vehicle to go roam around to go do the other things I want to do, and I don't have to break down camp and set it all up again.
I gotcha.
Necessarily.
If you're going to stay somewhere for several days, a trailer's a good idea.
Yes.
You can leave your camp set up and still be mobile, right? You
Right,
need to tear
right.
everything down and leave.
Well, it's like us, like we have our camper. So it's nice when you are camping, you are somewhere that you park, you get camp set up. And if you need to go run to the store or do something,
Right.
everything stays there and you just leave and come back.
Now, to clarify something for the listeners, setting up camp for us is a matter of about, 10, 15 minutes is how long it takes us to set up our camps when we're overlanding.
Not even.
Yeah, not
And
even.
we're going to cut that down to about 3 minutes
Yeah.
on this Alaska trip.
Yeah, because you got to figure some of those days we're going to be driving right up until dusk. We get to the campground
Or dark.
and we still have yet to cook, set up, get ready, drink rum beverages. I mean, that's a lot of stuff to do in a short amount of time. There. So
Priorities.
being able to set up camp in a hurry is definitely a positive thing.
And that the difference in this new, or this next big trip, which we're talking a big trip that's 2 years or not, just under 2 years away from now. So we have conventional, or what I consider conventional rooftop temps, right? So they're clamshell, so they stay closed and then they open up and the tent pops up.
Right.
Okay. So we're at least Justin and myself will not do that for whatever vehicle we get for this next trip. And we're going to do a hard shell tent.
Yes.
Because you can literally go clink, clink, and
30
you're on
seconds.
hydraulic struts in 30 seconds
just
and
pops.
it's open.
Yeah.
And that's it. You're done.
Your bedding material stays right in there. It lives in there, and boom.
Right.
You can
Which
sleep.
is also not so much setting up, but tearing down. So here's what you got to think of. We live in Florida and we have pretty good weather all the time.
Right.
Okay. If it's raining and blowing 30-mile-an-hour wind, here's what you don't want to do.
All of Northwest North America.
Fight with the tent. Setting
You
it
don't
up.
want to be fighting with the tent. You don't want to be folding up a tent that's soaking wet and then it's going to stay closed
And
for
stays.
18 hours maybe, right?
Right.
And then you open it up and it's wet and stuff. It's just, right?
It's miserable.
You have to expedite that.
Right.
Now, the problem with that is that the tents, let's just say $4,500 for hard shell, plus or minus. That's just a good number. Or you can get what we have now on patches for
$1,000.
Yeah.
And this is the fold out the clamshell.
I think we paid $700 for ours.
Yeah. We got ours on a
Good deal.
ridiculous good
But
deal.
man, that thing is great. We tested it, especially when we went to Canada. We had 30-mile-an-hour winds?
Yeah, at least.
Yeah.
And that thing held up great. I mean, I thought that our truck was gonna fly off, but the tent held.
They're definitely rugged. They're definitely rugged. But setting that up in 30-mile-an-hour wind is no small feat for sure.
Oh, yeah.
We in these tents are elevated, right? They're not like they're 4 feet off the ground where you can walk around it. So part of this is a safety thing.
Yes.
If I have to climb up on the bed rail of the truck and the bed rail's 4.5 feet off
There's
the
a
ground.
fall risk.
Right. If you slip because it's wet in the morning and
Right.
you're folding it up and you're climbing around up on top of the tent when you're standing on it trying to get it all secured. If you fall
A rolled ankle.
and you break a leg, an arm, an ankle, this scrubs your trip.
Yep,
your
you're
trip
done.
is done. So it's not just and you can be safe like patches. Our Bronco, I have grip tape everywhere, all along the bed rails, along the cab of the truck. So to mitigate that,
Right.
Now patches is lifted on 35, and it's a little taller, but the risk is still there. Maybe more so with like her Ram, which is a lower vehicle. If you slip and fall, That's it. I mean, you screw up not just your trip, but the people in your company.
Right.
So the advantage of having a clamshell where you can literally just go
Stand on
and it
the
opens
ground and
up,
open it. Yeah.
and then in the same way, step up one time into the back of the vehicle and grab it and close it. Done. It's a way safer. And this does not apply to everybody. This is our thinking as a group and what
For what
we
we're
going to
be doing.
Yeah.
Right,
based
right.
on the scope and duration of this trip. Right.
Cool.
It's a little different.
Yeah.
Nice.
And one of the other things to consider too, and this is just my end being the safety medical guy, is if you're 500 miles up into the Yukon or up into Alaska,
Right.
medical help isn't coming anytime soon. You have to
No,
suffer.
you have to go to medical help.
You're going to suffer with me for a while until we can finally get you to something, either an air evac or some sort of ambulance where they can get a hold of you.
Right.
And then it's probably another couple hours ride that way. You know, it
Depends on where you're at. But
very austere conditions.
we're talking remote. Like
Yeah.
this is stuff that you have to think about. So it's worth spending the money to get what we need to get to have the proper gear to be able to do this in a safer way, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So cool. So we're coming up on an hour now, so I kind of want to go around and wrap things up a little bit. Normally, I kind of run through a segment at the end of my show. I call it Race, Daily, or Crush. So this is going to be a little different because I'm not quite sure how to go about racing any type of overlanding rigs. So I'll pose the question differently. So I need two answers from you.
Okay.
I want to know what you think is the no expense spared. What is the perfect expedition rig or overlanding vehicle? And then two, what is one piece of equipment that you feel every overlander, whether beginner or advanced, should have?
Boy.
Okay, so no expense. I'm going with an earth roamer
Okay.
vehicle right there. You know, $5,750,000 giant diesel powered 42-inch Godzilla.
They look bad.
It's like the ultimate
do.
ultimate camper, right? Like
Right.
I have no idea if they're fuel efficient, and at that point, it
Probably not.
just doesn't matter. At that point, it just doesn't matter. And then you know the single, well, I'll be honest, the single thing that everybody absolutely has to have, no matter what, is a good head on your shoulders, right? To be able to problem solve and think through things. You don't need to have any XYZ stuff that you go buy, right? You need to have common sense. It behooves you if you're somewhat outdoorsy to begin with.
Definitely goes a long way. Common sense.
And so I'm not even. I was going to say, oh well, you need to have a winch, or you need to have a recovery ramps, or you need to have super awesome collapsible cookware, or you need to have none of that. You don't need to have any of that, right? You need to have the
Toilet paper.
I don't know if you need that either. Maybe you need a shovel. I don't know. You need to have a good head on your shoulders. You need to have a sense of adventure, and that's what you need. You don't need any one thing. It doesn't need to cost a ton of money. You don't need a rooftop tent to go overlanding. You can use a ground tent, and you freaking drive your car until you get tired, and you pull over and you set up your ground tent and you camp and you throw your junk back in the car after you cook breakfast and you keep going, right? You don't need to have anything but a sense of adventure. That's it.
Yes.
All right. Amanda.
For me, for a vehicle, I'm not sure per se of like what vehicle, but for me, I'm a very organized person. So it would have to be a vehicle that could be well organized and have, a bunch of like the drawers and like different things that I could organize. And then also for one thing, I would say have a plan. Because I am a planner. I mean,
Gotta have a checklist.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, and we do stuff, just off the cuff. But I do like to have a general plan, of what we're doing
From
and
stop to
stuff
stop,
like that.
what's going to be happening, what you should be or not being going to expect, things like that.
Yeah. So
Oh.
All right. So I'm going to go a little different direction than what Rob did, and I'm totally going to go retro. And my ultimate overlanding vehicle would be a modernized Jeep Grand Wagoneer. Deep down inside, I'm a Jeep guy at heart. I can't help it. Rob's giving me scolding looks right now.
I think that's fantastic.
He's like, that's amazing.
Stop.
You know, you can
We
spend
like the old school.
150 grand and put modern everything in it, and it'll run like a top.
I said no expense spared.
Exactly.
I mean,
so either a diesel powered or a nice LS powered Grand Wagoneer that's been modernized on the inside, but still maintains the classic look. Mildly lifted, just enough to fit some 33s under it, and you could travel this continent and probably several others with no problem.
I like it.
And as far as equipment goes, I look at things a little different. I've spent almost 20 years in the fire service, and my biggest thing would be some way like a GPS spot or a device to let people know that you're in trouble if you happen to come across it. Like I said, we're going to be hundreds of miles from anywhere. You might not be able to get to your sat phone, but having one of the GPS emergency beacons would be an amazing thing.
Kind of like the old, the old people help I've fallen and I can't get up buttons, but for adventurous folks.
Help! I'm stuck in the middle of BFE.
Right.
We're not going to tell you what the problem is, but I'm here and need your assistance.
It's the oh crap button.
Yes, definitely. Well, guys, I thank you all very much for taking the time to be on the show. Let us know where can we find RCO at?
So we have an Instagram page, Red Cracker Outdoors. We have a YouTube page, Red Cracker Outdoors. We have a Facebook page, which isn't used a whole lot, also Red Cracker Outdoors. Or just Red Cracker Outdoors, everything. Yep. All the things with Red Cracker Outdoors. That's where you find us.
Definitely. That is where our adventures will be had.
# Red Cracker Outdoors.
Oh, there we go. Awesome. Well, again, thank you guys very much. Thank you everybody out there that's listening and or watching on YouTube. Don't forget to like and subscribe, leave some comments and some love, and we'll talk to you guys again soon. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank you
Mike.
for having us.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Are you ready to see somebody's need for speed? I can put our wings in the wind faster than you could ever believe. Are you ready to rock? Fun that don't ever stop. We are on a crash course of freedom that's run.